Hello, my Aloha tribe, and welcome to the Aloha Perspective, where you get a little bit of something and a whole lot of everything. Happy Wednesday. It's Wednesday. Oh my goodness, I'm still doing it. Happy hump day. And it's a Wednesday. So I promised I would be on today. I do have a story for you, and I think it'll be a good one. I'm sorry I'm a minute or two late. Hot flashes up the wazoo, man. Let's see. I have the story here. I just kind of did a kind of an abbreviation of it of sorts. But just a reminder, the holidays aren't always easy for everybody. So if we could just show some kindness, show some compassion, show some patience, I think we'll be okay. Merry Christmas Eve, older sibling. She got me these earrings for Christmas. I love that. I needed some. So, different book today. This is actually my journal. They're not always fancy like this, believe it or not. I got this for my birthday last year, but it's Dr. Strange. So, I know you're like, oh, it's so fancy and elegant. It's like, yeah, it's still a nerd. It's a nerd journal. A nerdnal. Merry Christmas Eve, Muddy. Okay, so I don't know if anyone put two and two together, but tonight in the princess's message for Christmas. Just kidding. So today, on Christmas Eve, we're going to talk about the Christmas Day Truce of 1914. I figure yesterday we talked a little bit about war and how compassion shone through on in an event that, was definitely life-changing for both people involved, but could have also been a death sentence for one of the people involved. But it shows what happens. As older sibling put it yesterday when we were talking about it, that's what happens when you put a face to it. And while this gentleman yesterday was a World War II flying ace for Germany, he never had to look at the faces, right? It was just, a plane, bang, shoot it down. Okay, and he was one of their best. And then when he saw the faces on these young men, terrified, afraid, 5 days before Christmas, something just clicked in him. All of a sudden the war had a face. And it was terrified young men trying to hold a bomber together and get back to safety. And probably facing their mortality without realizing that a Christmas miracle was about to occur. So, this is the other one from World War I. The Christmas Day Truce of 1914 was an unofficial ceasefire during World War I where British and German soldiers laid down their arms to celebrate Christmas together in no man's land. Now, what's interesting about this is Doctor Who actually did an episode on this. And I'm going to read you the whole synopsis. So, after this particular one, they banned it. They said no more. Sorry. Because it's exactly, again, what older siblings said. The war suddenly had a face. And it's easier to kill someone, right, when you don't know them, or if they don't have a face, if they're just the enemy. So, no matter what happens, wars are things that are started by governments and are fought. I always look at war as like being chess, right? You have the two kings and the queens, and that's kind of your government. And then you have all the little pawns and the bishops and the rooks, and they're doing all the dirty work, kind of making way for the big guns. And sorry, for lack of a better term. So, there's just a lot of people out there doing what they're told to do. And some of them absolutely hardcore, like, yeah, I'm all in. And others are just kind of like, yeah, I'm not really sure I want to be here. I don't want to die. I want to be with my family. But things happen. Okay. I believe they called World War I the war to end all wars. Yeah. Germany got sassy again in the 30s, or the 20s and the 30s, and it culminated into World War II. So yesterday we talked about, that particular war. Today we're going to talk again about the Christmas Truce of 1914. So the Christmas Truce occurred on December 24th and 25th, 1914, along the Western Front just months after the war began. By this time, the brutal realities of trench warfare had set in, with soldiers facing harsh conditions, including mud, cold, and the constant threat of death. The initial enthusiasm for the war had faded, leading to a desire for a moment of peace amidst the chaos. On Christmas Eve, British soldiers heard German troops singing carols and saw lights along their trenches. This led to exchanges of greetings and messages between the opposing sides. On Christmas Day, many soldiers ventured into no man's land, that'd be the area between the trenches, where they exchanged gifts, shared food, and even played in impromptu games of football. For those of us who are American, that would be soccer, all right? The truce was not universally observed. Fighting continued in some areas, but in many places the guns fell silent, allowing for a brief respite from the violence. The significance and legacy of the Christmas Truce. The Christmas Truce has become a symbol of humanity and peace in the midst of war. It demonstrated that even in the darkest times, soldiers could find common ground and share moments of camaraderie. However, military leaders on both sides were concerned that such fraternization... Why can I not talk today? Hold on, let me try this. Dry mouth. All right. However, military leaders on both sides were concerned that such fraternizing could undermine morale and fighting spirit, leading to efforts to prevent similar truces in the future. The truce remains a poignant reminder of the potential for peace and understanding, even in the most challenging circumstances, and has been commemorated in various forms of media and remembrance events over the years. In summary, the Christmas Day Truce of 1914 was a remarkable event that highlighted the shared humanity of soldiers during World War I, providing a brief but significant pause in the hostilities. So, you're probably like, well, why are you sharing this, Shelley Marie? We're living in very crazy, uncertain, awkward, I think awkward might be the best word for it, times right now. More and more people are losing their proverbial shit, if you will. More and more people are just, we're just becoming angrier and angrier. And I'm not saying that there's not a reason to be angry. I'm not saying there's not a reason to fight what is bad in this world and what is wrong in this world. And some people will say, if you go up against their beliefs, well, that's your opinion. But here's the thing. A lot of times when people will sit there and say that's your opinion, that's their only argument. They don't have anything to refute facts. They don't have any of their own receipts. They just, kind of say, well, that's your opinion. Or you can believe what you want. Or that's fake news. Or that's this, that's that. They'll say that because we're human. We don't want to be wrong. We don't want to be responsible for having put in place something that could be so detrimental to everyone, even the people that voted for it. Now, I am kind of masking that a little bit, and I don't mean this to be political. I don't. But we are talking about a war here. We're talking about something where, for a brief moment in time, two sides came together. They had fun. They enjoyed each other's company. They shared each other's, food and everything that they had with one another, sampling the different fares of two different countries. They played soccer together, football. Well, I shouldn't say football, it's soccer. They played football. They had fun. They sang Christmas carols. And then come December 26th, all of a sudden they're back in their trenches shooting at each other once more. And you have to wonder, and you have to also look at how sad it was that the higher ups on both sides thought, well, this is not a good idea. They literally went against what the spirit of Christmas is all about. You don't have to be religious to have the spirit of Christmas. If people want to write it as Xmas, let them. Because not everybody believes what other people believe. But what we have to believe when it comes to Christmas time, whether you are a believer, a non-believer, you don't celebrate, is the one common universal truth that stands every single day. Kindness is free. Compassion is free. Empathy is free. We're losing all of those. We have become so angry and so ingrained in all of this hate and animosity and just with other people that we've forgotten, it feels to me, what compassion, empathy, and patience really is all about, what kindness is all about. Kindness is free. Kindness doesn't cost you anything. A smile doesn't cost you anything. A good morning, a good afternoon, a good evening costs you nothing except a moment of your time. And you have no idea how that might affect somebody else. Yeah, they might bah humbug you, or they might go, wow, you know what? Someone did see me today. And that little smile, or that little, hey, how's it going? Even if you don't get an answer, even if you don't have time to answer because you're just in passing, because that's some people's version of hello. You made someone feel seen. And it could be a very someone who is on the verge of feeling like they're invisible. I know it seems like, impossible to change somebody's mind like that. But a lot of times it's just planting a seed. It's saying, hey, I don't know you, but I see you. And even if you feel like you don't matter, you matter. You see, the British, while the Germans were celebrating in their trench, just trying to have some kind of peace of moment during a holiday, they weren't fighting. The British could have taken full advantage of that. But they didn't. These were kids. These were young men. Maybe some older. I don't know. I wasn't there. And if I was, I wouldn't be allowed to go there because I'm a girl. But the point is, they didn't. They joined in. They didn't take advantage of a moment that was really ripe for the taking. They just said, you know what? We need this too. We need a moment of respite. We need this. And 111 years later, this is something we still talk about. And we still talk about it because it was right in the middle of a war. And granted, it was the beginning of the war. Just a few months in. But it was still war. We have to ask ourselves why we hate the other person so much. We have to ask ourselves why, it's wrong to be a different color, right? Why it's my cat. Why it's wrong to speak a different language. Because remember, if we go somewhere else, whoever you are, wherever you're watching this, that country will not speak your language as their first language. Now, English is a somewhat universal language, but you can't go to Spain and expect someone to just know English, and you can't get mad if they don't. Can't go to France and say, hey, why aren't you speaking English? That's your language. They have their own language. They may speak it, but I'll tell you this right now. If you expect someone to do it, they are probably going to pretend that they can't. Okay? So I'll give you an example. I was at Disneyland one time, and there was a family, and like I said, my conversational French sucks, but I understand it. At the time, it was more on a very basic level of understanding because all of that French had fallen out of my head since high school. But I could tell they were a little concerned. Turns out one of their kids were not feeling well, and they were trying to look on the map, but the map was only in English, right? And their English was decent, but everybody has different terms for different things. They were looking for the first aid place. So, one of them spoke English. We were able to communicate, and then I told them to go back to the front of the park, and they have different language maps. And they were like, really? And it's like, yeah, Disneyland thinks of everything, okay? Disney World, Disneyland, all of them. They think of everything. Because they know when people are coming here, they know when people are going into this park that they're not all Americans. They're not all English-speaking people. They're going to be people of different languages. When older sibling handed one of her coworkers who was from Italy a program in Italian, he was like, oh my God, he was so excited. It's these little things because people notice. So this family was close to where they needed to be. They were literally just around the corner, but because it's a little hidden, they didn't know. So I showed them. She just brought it up. That's so funny. See, we're on the same wavelength. I must, she's right downstairs below me. So it's like her thoughts are seeping through the floor and up to me. But yeah, it may seem insignificant, and that this isn't about tooting our own horns. This is about humanity. This is about showing people, even something as small as a map in their own language, that people care, that people see them. You know, that when we go into a different culture, we appreciate it. We embrace ourselves in it. You know, it's not that hard. We don't owe anybody anything, and nobody owes us anything. And when you walk in, like, you know, you're the head peacock, you're probably going to get treated like you're the head peacock and be told, hit the bricks. You know, or you're just going to be ignored. Compassion, kindness, and empathy. These things are free. We don't have to be, you know, the big head honcho on the block, right? Just be yourself. I think we get so lost in what we think Christmas is now. Christmas has become very commercial. Christmas has become something that has gotten really, in a way, out of control. We stress because we feel like we need the money to buy presents. Or, you know, I even caught myself the other day when I was talking to my dad about a gift I'd given him. I think it was for his birthday one year. And I said, I was just so stressed out the next year because I was like, how do I outdo that? Right? Because I got him something that I thought was pretty awesome. And he loved it. It's on the bar on display. But I was like, and my dad's all, why would you even think that? And I'm all like, I don't know. You know, because I just, you know, I think my problem is I try to go for the Hallmark moments, right? Where it's like, oh, I want them to cry. Not on purpose, but because then it's like, oh, I did a good job because I made their day. Because I want to evoke an emotion for them to have something to remember. But we stress ourselves out over it. It's not about how many gifts are under the tree. It's not about if you have any money to give gifts to put under the tree. It's about being together with people you care about. It's about being together with, you know, whoever it is, you know, just being with people that you love, people that you want to be around, whether that, you know, identifies as your family or your friends, or maybe you're having a Christmas friend gathering, or like Friendsgiving, right? That we have here in the United States for Thanksgiving. It's all these different things. And we've forgotten the spirit of that. And I think that's why, in my personal opinion and perspective, that the 1914 truce, Christmas truce of World War I, lives on today. Because they didn't plan it. It started with Christmas carols. It started with little lights in the trench. It started with a bunch of scared individuals just needing a moment of peace and joy, right? And they had that until poof, they didn't. But I guarantee whoever made it through that war on that day, they never forgot that. And that probably stuck with them for the rest of their lives. They had a moment that belonged to them, not their government, not their higher commands that weren't in the middle of the, you know, the trench warfare. It was just them, everybody present in no man's land on those 2 days. Being human, being friends, sharing, you know, a moment in time that nobody could take away from them. So we have to find ways to be better, to do better, to be more kind. When we start putting love and compassion back into this world, I think it might change it, right? Mother Nature, she got her way back in 2020, and it kind of made a lot of people feral, and a lot of people just haven't become unferal. And, you know, a lot of people got angry over that. A lot of people were like, well, that's so-and-so's fault, or that's this, that. No, it happened. And there was nothing we could do about it. And people fought it, and people couldn't understand why this, that, or the other was happening. Countries that closed down immediately, they opened up first. Because they didn't have people bitching and moaning about how their rights were being taken away. People were trying to keep people safe. And instead of feeling like people were trying to keep them safe, they were fed lies and bullshit. And I really feel that we haven't recovered from that. We haven't readjusted. So, I admit yesterday, my drive home was not as packed with patience that I had hoped it would be. Oh, boy, I was feral. I was feral driving home yesterday. And poor sibling, she talked to me all the way home. She heard every bit of it. Not a lot. It was off and on. But, it was raining. And it was kind of like, I tend to go into like, I don't panic when I drive. But when people just cut me off short, instead of going like, oh, thank goodness I'm okay, it's like, what the hell were you thinking? Like they can, the windshield is my shield, right? Like they can hear anything I'm saying. But especially in California, rain doesn't stop bad drivers. So I've been pretty sure that's universal. But anyways, I know I'm all over the page here. And I don't mean to be. But I just really keep wanting to go back to the significance and the legacy of that day, 111 years ago. Because I can do better. I know I can do better. And I know I need to do better. And, I know that I have to learn to go with the flow better. So I'm telling you this, I'm sharing that with you because I don't want you to think, oh yeah, she's just like telling us all this stuff. But I am always on this perspective and this show going to throw myself under the bus if absolutely necessary. Because I want people to know I'm not perfect. I'm not striving to be perfect. I am perfectly imperfect, but there's still room for improvement in different areas. I got cranky this morning with older siblings. She wanted to show me these beautiful flowers, one of her besties sent her after, her aunt died last week. And, and we all loved Aunt Joyce. Yesterday was her services, and, you can only imagine what the family's going through the day before Christmas Eve. But I had seen them last night, but it's like, I have 4 minutes to get onto my show. It's like, can't I just see these later? But I got cranky. I got snippy. And I'm sharing that because it's like, you know what? As I'm sitting here and telling you all this stuff, I could have just said, okay, can I just see them when, I did say, can I see them later? But it was like, no, just really quick, come see them now. I should have just went with the flow, And so Sammy says, thanks for sharing this event. It shines the light of hope for us. That's why I wanted to talk about it. After reading yesterday, after telling you yesterday the story of Franz and Charles, I was like, there's a perfect story for Christmas Eve. Because as you know, I wasn't going to do a show today. But I thought, in the climate of the world that we're in, as we sit in the last week of 2025, we need to embody the spirit of those 2 days. We need to start looking at people with love and compassion instead of as an enemy. We have to stop putting our ideals, our religious ideals included. And I don't mean those who, I'm not talking about all religions or not all religious people, but the really hardcore religious people tend to forget that. And I don't mean to call them out, and I'm not saying they're bad, because they're not. I know a lot of awesome Christians. I know a lot of awesome Catholics. I know a lot of different religion people. And they're all wonderful people. They put kindness and empathy before, everything else, because that's what their higher power tells them to do. But then there are other people that hide behind their sacred word, and they hurt people with it. And they sit there and say, well, you can't be my friend because you're different. Here's 2 countries fighting each other. And in one brief moment, for, we'll just say 48 hours, but roughly 48 hours, they just enjoyed each other's company before they had to start shooting at each other again. And we have to ask ourselves, what would have happened if the higher-ups would have said, oh, you know what? Why are we fighting this war? Or for whatever reason. I'm not really, my history is a little shaky on that one. But the point is that day had kindness, compassion, caring, empathy, love, friendship, We could be so much better if we looked at the person that's different from us as our friend instead of our enemy. As a friend instead of someone who's, oh, well, they're going to take my job. I see the world and I see all the changes that we can make. Oh, older sibling says, remember the 9/12 effect? Yeah, the day after 9/11, America came together like nobody's business, like, hands across America, right? Their enemies became their brothers. Their enemies became their sisters. Everybody mattered. And slowly that faded away. And a lot of people forget the 9/12 effect. I'm just going to finish. I'm going to leave you with this. My mother passed away on 9/12. And I was, a lot of people were like, oh, it's so weird. She died so close to 9/11. And I said, no, it made perfect sense that my mom died on 9/12. And at first people didn't get it. And they're all, what do you mean? It makes perfect because it was a Friday? I'm like, no. I said 9/12, not Friday. Because my mom gathered people. My mom was sometimes the bridge between people. Yeah, her and I may have had our moments, our ups and downs. She was my parent, and we, two very strong and stubborn-willed women, but my mom provided compassion and empathy when people needed it. She was there in a time, for people when they felt like they had no one else to go to. I didn't always have that. And for a while, when I would hear people's stories about that, about my mom, I'd be like, who is this person you were talking about? But then as I got older and I started to heal from her passing, and I started thinking how great it is that they had this. Because I had it with other people. Maybe not from my mom, but I had it from other people. That doesn't make her a bad mom. I think my mom just wanted me, as I said in other shows, to be strong. And I think she was worried that if she babied me at any point or whatever, that I would not be as strong. But I was strong. She just never saw my strength. And it wasn't until after she died that I finally saw it. But the point I'm trying to make is that she was there. She was her own 9/12 effect for other people. She brought them compassion. She brought them empathy. She showed them love when they felt like they were not seen, when they felt like they were invisible. That's what she did for people. And that will be her legacy. And the fact that she died on 9/12, it makes perfect sense. It does. It makes perfect sense to me. So, let's be better. Let's do better. Let's call a truce, all right, in our lives for today and tomorrow. And just enjoy whatever it is you're going to do. If you're going to just watch TV and be alone, hey, if you're just going to sit in your socks and your pajamas for the next 2 days and watch whatever you're going to watch, munching on whatever you feel like munching on because you got a couple days off, more power to you. More power to you. That actually sounds very enticing. But I got driving to do. So, yeah, I know. My travels have not ended yet. But anyways, for me, I will say this. I'm sad that my father isn't going to be joining us for the holidays. He chose to do his own thing by himself at home. I can't speak to where he's at, but I just feel like he's just kind of not in his ed place yet, but I think he'll get there. But for me, I'm grateful this holiday season for just all the beautiful people in my life. My dad included, all the beautiful, wonderful people in my life, older sibling, Muddy, my cousin Jeannie, who's really helped, since I've been in San Diego, get me through the year, including my friend Eileen, my family, baby sibling, my cat, who is on my bed right now. She slept with me last night. I was so happy because the last few times I've come home, she's been so mad at me for being gone. She didn't sleep with me, but I caught her a few times and I just kind of pretended to be asleep because it's like, oop, I'm not going to say anything because I don't want her to move. Those are the things I'm grateful for. And I'm grateful for the gifts I've received. I am. I truly am. They're practical, and I'm grateful for that. But my earrings. I love my earrings. I told older sibling, I said I was so sad because I didn't have any Christmas earrings. And I'll tell you, just as a side note, this is the most, so this is what I'm grateful for the most. When people know you so well that they inquire about earrings, right? So I love earrings. Older sibling got me a pair of hummingbird earrings. They're handmade. The woman only made 2, and they belong to sibling and I, because she hand makes them. But sibling asked her, are they light? These, I forgot I had them on last night. The only reason I can feel them right when they hit my face, but they are so light because I have very sensitive earlobes. Like, you need to know that. But those are the little things we have to look for. Those are the best things in life. So this Christmas, look for the little things. Look for the best things. Don't judge a person's tree because it doesn't look like yours. Don't judge it. I mean, the Charlie Brown Christmas tree is the best tree ever. If you're going to the mall today, please be kind to the people behind the counters. All right? Don't be an asshole. Because they're dealing with last minute people who procrastinated, or last minute people whose family members sent them out and said, oh my God, you got to get this because I forgot it. So be kind to them. If you're in a bad mood and you're at the grocery store, use self-checkout. Do not put your bad mood on anyone else. And I promise I'll do my best to be the same. You know, today, especially driving in the rain. I'm already like, oh my God. But it'll be okay. All right? It's just a moment. It's just a moment. Take a deep breath. And his older sibling would tell me, no huffs. I like to huff. I'll say, she'll be like, take a deep breath. I'm not kidding. My favorite Christmas present she bought me, it's a hot cold mug, and it says, I'm not dramatic, I'm theatrical. That's legit. I am dramatic. My favorite saying is actually, I'll get over it, I just need to be dramatic about it first. So let's remember this beautiful story of the Christmas Truce of 1914. All right? And let's share the love, share the friendship, share the kindness. We don't know what other people are going through. So, all the things, all right? So, okay, that was weird. I just heard me going by. So anyways, Sammy's all, I love it, I'm theatrical. I am theatrical. And I'm loud, so I can project. So anyways, again, Merry Christmas, everybody. Have a happy Christmas Eve. Have a Merry Christmas. If you don't celebrate, or you're just like, I don't believe in that stuff, then that's okay. Happy Wednesday and Thursday. Okay, happy Wednesday and Thursday to you. Be safe out there. Be kind to one another. And most of all, just go with the flow. Have a wonderful day, and I will see you next Monday. So also have a wonderful and safe long weekend for many of you. All right. I will see you next Monday. Have a great day.